to call on we would like to call on Ms. Marides Guardiola, President of MedNet, to give her welcome remarks. Mama Det.
Salamat. Salamat, Kat. Fresh looking ka ngayon, ha?
Thank you po.
Okay. Magandang umaga po. Tayong mga Pinoy, pag nangangamusta tayo o nagwe-welcome tayo, ang una nating tinatanong, kumain ka na ba? Kamusta? Saan ka galing? Pero itong mga nakaraang buwan, mas naging madalas tayong nagtatanong, kamusta? At pag nangamusta tayo, malalim po yung ibig sabihin no? Hindi lang yung kamusta ka, anong ginagawa mo, saan ka galing, kumain ka na ba? Pero kamusta yung kabuuan? Ikaw, no? Kaya mo pa ba? Kasi 1 taon at 3 buwan na po tayo, mahigit no sa ating sitwasyon na ito kung saan nagkaroon ng pandemya. Sa MedNet, 1 taon at 3 buwan na po kami nag-e-learning forum. At yung salitang kamusta po, yan din yung una naming tinanong nung sinimulan namin yung e-learning forum. Yun yung una naming title, kamustahan. Kamusta ang mga partners kasi hindi na kami makapunta dahil sa travel restrictions. So kinakamusta namin. Buti na lang mayroong Zoom at nangangamusta kami sa lahat. Itong ating e-learning forum ngayon, isang uri din ng pangangamusta. Sabi ko nga, 1 year and 3 months after, asa na tayo, kamusta na kayo? Kami sa MedNet mismo, ngayong tayo nasa another MECQ dito sa amin, sa Alfonso. Kami dito sa MedNet mismo, marami kaming kasama na nagkasakit, naapektuhan ng COVID, mga kapamilya, at walang tigil po kami sa pangangamusta. Dahil yan yung kailangan natin ngayon. Sa session po na ito, kakamustahin natin ang ating mga sarili, ang bawat isa, at titingnan natin siya sa anggulo ng mental health at well-being. Dahil nga sa dami ng challenges at saka kawalang kasiguruhan sa panahon natin, magandang tanungin, no? Paano ba mag-thrive? Hindi lang mag-survive, pero mag-blossom. Patuloy tayong yumabong. Kaya ba sa panahon na ito? Tutulungan tayo ng ating mga panauhin para diskubrihin ano ba yung mga pwede nating gawin para tayo ay patuloy na mag-bloom, mag-blossom. Sabi nga nila, this is not just about winning the COVID battle. It's learning to live with not only one virus but many more viruses to come. Nako, paano yan? Paano natin haharapin? Kaya na ba natin? Handa na ba natin? Paano natin ihahanda yung ating sarili sa ngayon? So, yung topic na mental health and well-being, of course, marami na rin nag-uusap dito. Tungkol din at ang ating gobyerno mismo, marami na rin ginagawa tungkol dito. Meron tayong mental health law, yung Republic Act 11036, pwede natin pag-aralan yan. Kung saan isinasaad, ano yung mga serbisyo, ano yung mga pondo, ano yung mga pwedeng tulong na ibigay sa atin, sa ating pangailangan pagdating sa mental health. So ngayong umaga, tutuon tayo, hindi dun sa mga aspetong yon dahil yun ay pwede nating ma-access sa ating mga website, yung mental health provisions ng ating batas. Pero ang tutuunan po natin ay yung teorya at praktika ng mental health and well-being. At dalawang guest speakers natin ay sila mismo isinasabuhay ang teorya at praktika ng mental health and well-being sa kanilang mga propesyon at sa sarili-sarili nilang buhay. Makikita nyo mamaya kung paano din sila nag-thrive sa panahong ito. So welcome po sa inyong lahat. Pagkatapos ko kayong kamustahin at patuloy nakakamustahin, wini-welcome ko kayo sa isa na namang makabuluhan, mayaman na talakayan ngayong umaga. At hopefully pag uwi po natin from this forum, marami tayong maipa-practice at maidadagdag sa ating mga initiatives, personal efforts sa ngayon upang patuloy na mag-thrive, mag-blossom, at mag-grow sa ating panahon. Salamat po sa pagdating at pagkipag-isa.
Thank you, Mama Det. Napaka-importante ng sinabi po ninyo. Kumusta po kayo? Nakalimutan ko pong kamustahin ang lahat. Kumusta po tayong lahat? I hope maganda po ang panahon ngayon. let's stay indoors po. Hindi na po tayo, didiretso na po tayo sa main presentation, sa ating main discussion because we have a lot to learn today. Allow me to introduce our key resource speaker for this morning. Our speaker is a registered psychologist. She is the chair of the Department of Psychology of Perpetual Health Medical Center and associate professor in the University of Perpetual Health Systems, Talta in Las Piñas. She is also the advisor of the Psychological Association of the Philippines Calabarzon Mimaropa chapter. She is the former chair of the Teaching Special Interest Group of the Psychological Association of the Philippines and served as member of the board of directors of the same organization. She was also part of the Mental Health Psychosocial Service Special Interest Group and one of the conveners of the LGBT Psychology Special Interest Group of the same organization. She does facilitators training, coaching, and consulting for psychological first aid and mental health, the knowledge channel of the ABS-CBN, the disaster risk reduction management of the Department of Education, Black Canvas, Virgin Lab Fest, and Sininggaling of the Cultural Center of the Philippines. Let us all welcome Professor Mariflor Yeng Gatchalian.
Yan, hello, good morning. Ayun. Nako, I'm so happy to see you, Miss Madet. Nako, nagkakasama kami ni Miss Madet sa aming mga programs, projects sa Department of Education. Kaya nakita kita, biglang lukso ang dugo ko. Kasi talagang marami kang pinagsamahang mga projects with DepEd. So magandang umaga. Allow me to share my screen, okay lang? Ayun, kasi ayaw niya akong pa-sharein dahil daw merong nag-share. Wait, I'll just share my screen. There you go. Yes, there you are. Nakikita niyo po po yung screen ko? Wala pa siya, no? Okay, so tinanong ako ni Miss Kat. Sabi niya, anong title ng presentation ko? Sabi ko, care. Yun lang, care. Diba? Kasi yun lang talaga yung salitang gusto kong lagi natin ilalagay sa isip at puso natin. When we talk of mental health, the only word I have in mind is care. Care for self and care for others. There you go. Pero hindi po siya lumalabas ngayon. Ayun. Ayun. All right. So there it is. So let us get through this together. Sama-sama tayo. Sabi niyo nga, thrive together by caring for ourselves and for others. Pero syempre, when we talk about care, ito talagang hindi nawawala sa mga presentations ko, this slide. No? This is a reminder for everyone to smile. Hindi madali. Ang hirap, no? Ang hirap ngumiti. Para sabihin, smile, ang dami na natin pinagdadaanan. Imagine, dati, COVID lang siya. Ngayon, naglalambada na siya. Sumasayaw na si COVID. Hindi na natin alam. Sabi dati, ano ba talaga itong COVID na to? Pagkatapos, nung nagkaroon na ng vaccine, ang saya na natin. Meron namang mga resistant na mga COVID variant. Di ba? Parang hindi mo na alam kung saan ka huhugot ng dahilan para ngumiti. Pero maraming dahilan para ngumiti. And if we talk about caring for ourselves, if we talk about caring for our mental health, the first step is to smile. Because, ang pagngiti, meron niyang tatlong aspeto, no? It has three effects, bio, psychosocial. So, konti lang, ipapaliwanag ko lang. Ano yung bio, biological? Pag tayo ngingiti, hindi talaga nakaka-detect si brain. Alam niyo, hindi yan nakaka-interpret ng emotion. So, masama lang yan na nakikinig siya, kumbaga, sa mga messages na binibigay sa kanya ng ibang sistema ng katawan. So, kapag ang lips mo laging nakaganyan, tapos consistent na nakaganyan yung lips mo, yung nakaganyan ka. Pag nakarating yung message na yan kay brain, sasabihin ni brain, may nangyayaring maganda. So pagka ganon, ayuda siya ngayon. O diba, ang ayuda hindi lang galing sa gobyerno. Meron din ayuda sa atin ng brain natin at yan yung mga good hormones. Kahit hindi maganda yung pakiramdam mo, pag gumiti ka and you keep it there on your face, sasabihin ni brain, kailangan niya ng regulator. So bibigyan niya tayo ng mood regulator, ang tawag doon, serotonin. Tapos, meron ding isang neurotransmitter siyang ibibigay sa atin. Ang tawag doon ng endorphin. Yun yung pleasure transmitter or pleasure hormone. No? So imagine the combination of hormones that regulate your emotions at the same time providing you with better feelings or better affect, no? So yun na, may biological na. Tapos you will feel good. That feeling good is psychological effect. Yun na yung epekto, you feel good. And then when you feel good, or you feel better at least, mas madaling maglabas ng positive emotions. Ngayon, kapag nagiging positive yung emotions mo, ano nangyayari? Nagiging appreciative ka. Kasi pag positive yung emotions mo, mas madali mo nakikita yung ganda ng paligid, di ba? Hindi ka madali mainis kasi nga nangunguna yung positivity mo. Tapos nakaka-appreciate ka ng mga bagay-bagay. Kumbaga, pag maliit ang sweldo mo, matutuwa ka pa. Hindi ka nagko-complain, ay, maliit ang sweldo ko. Ang mangyayari, matutuwa ka, ay, may sweldo ako, may pambayad akong utang. Di ba? Yung gano'n, nagiging mas positive ka. At kapag naging positive ka, appreciative ka, learning becomes easier. Yes. No? Kasi mas madali ka maka-appreciate kesa yung complain. So there goes the psychological effect. And not only that, dahil nga nakangiti ka lagi, when people see you, they feel good. Sige nga, kung may mga kasama kayo dyan, pwede niyo bang tingnan yung mga tao sa paligid mo na nakangiti? Tingnan niyo kung anong pakiramdam niyo. Diba nahahawa ka? Pero pag nakakita ka na nakasimangot, anong pakiramdam niyo? Diba parang Negatron? Negatron, Megastar, di ba gano'n ang dating? Nakakahawa. Ako ayokong tumingin sa mga taong hindi nakangiti. Kasi pag nakasimangot yung tao nakikita ko, parang pati ako, naapektuhan, promise. Gusto ko nakangiti. Kaya lagi ako nakatingin kay Miss Madet kasi nakangiti siya, di ba? You know, when you smile, the world smiles with you. That's an old cliche, but that's reality. That's true. So let us all smile. Let's practice smiling para we can think better, we feel better, and we learn better. We become more appreciative. But like I said, it's not easy to smile. It's not easy to be okay. Kaya nga kahit si Boy Abunda, di ba nagtanong, kailan daw nagiging okay kapag hindi okay? Kailan din hindi okay? Pwedeng hindi okay kapag hindi okay. Yan, di ba? Talagang bilibili Pilipinas ang peg ko, di ba? Pero totoo, no? A lot of us are asking, kumusta ka na? Katulad ng sinabi ni Miss Mara, kumusta ka na? A lot of us ask people around us. At ano yung pang goodbye natin? Di ba dati ang mga goodbye natin? Okay, bye! Ngayon, ano? Keep safe. Di ba? Keep safe. Parang laging yun ang pang-goodbye natin ngayon. Keep safe. Paalala sa bawat isa na mag-ingat tayo. Kasi itong sinabi yung tanong ni Boy Abunda na naging viral, this really is a valid question because a lot of people ask this. I'm not okay. Should I tell? Kumusta ka na? Okay lang. Kumusta ka na? Ayos lang. Di ba parang lagi tayong ganon, no? Pero kailan ayos ang ayos? Kailan hindi ayos ang hindi ayos, no? Pwede ko bang sabihin? Pwede ko bang aminin? Pwede ko bang sabihin sa'yo na hindi ako okay ngayon? Ano kayang iisipin nyo kung sasabihin kong hindi ako okay ngayon? Nakakahiya ba? Yun ang daming tanong, di ba? Pero yan ay dahil nga sa pinagdadaanan natin, si COVID. COVID may have changed everything, our lifestyle. But there's one thing that COVID can never change. It's love. Love will always be there. Yung paraan ng pagpapakita ng pagmamahal, yun ang nagbago. Yun ang nabago. Di ba? Kumbaga, dati ang language of love natin, touching, kissing, di ba? Ganun, togetherness. Pero ngayon kasi ang language of love is protection. Protect. Kung mahal mo siya, huwag mong halikan. Galing ka sa labas, huwag ka na muna magmano. Di ba? Kasi baka may madala ka na hindi nila alam. Remember, the language of love now is protection. And because we are not used to that, it's creating so much stress to everyone. Naapektuhan yung ating tinatawag na mental health. Pag naapektuhan ang ating mental health, ay naapektuhan ang lahat tungkol sa atin. Decisions, no, problem solving and all. So ano ba yung mga nararanasan natin ngayon? Sige, pag-usapan natin ng konting-konti. Ano ba yung mga common na na-experience natin ngayon? Lalo na pag nasa-stress, di ba? Sabi ng American Psychological Association, marami ang nagkakaroon ng problema sa pagkain, sa pagtulog, no? At ang tatandaan natin dito, hindi ito yung hindi makakain at hindi makatulog lang. Kapag sinabing sleep or eating issues, kasama dyan yung tulog ka ng tulog. O mahaba ang tulog, no? At yung kain, naku, hindi lang yan yung hindi ka makakain. Kain ng kain, no? Lalo na tayo work from home, napaka-limited ng ating physical activity. Ang ating brain ay mas madaling kumain ng energy kapag ang ginagamit mo sa trabaho mo ay iyong isip. Mas madaling makapagod yan, mas madaling makagutom yan, no? Pag physical ang ginagawa natin, actually, madali ka mapagod, madali ka magutom, pero hindi katulad ng kapag mental energy ang nakakain. Talagang mas madalas kumakain ka. Natakbuhan natin ngayon. Ang iba pang nararanasan natin ngayon, yung para bang, alam niyo yan, parang lagi ka nalulungkot. If you will notice, I did not mention, or American Psychological Association did not mention here, feeling of depression or depressed. No? Because it may still not be depression. We feel sad, madali tayo ma-bored, madali tayo malungkot, iba ganyan. Pero bakit tayo nakakaranas ng lungkot? Bakit tayo nakakaranas ng boredom? Hindi naman lahat sa atin conflicted ang family. Yung iba naman sa atin, okay naman sa bahay. Pero bakit nalulungkot pa rin tayo sa work from home? Kasi ang isa sa mga pwedeng dahilan na ipapaliwanag ko sa inyo ay tinatawag na synchronicity. When you work from home, this is your comfort zone. Your body is not really programmed to work at home. Kapag nasa trabaho tayo sa exact work area natin, andun ang mga kasama mo, pareho ng ginagawa mo, pareho ng goal, tapos may mga mesa, may upuan, talagang pang trabaho, di ba? Sa bahay, anong meron? Tama. No? Andiyan ang pamilya. So, hindi talaga para doon yung synchronicity mo nasa trabaho. At dahil nasa bahay ka ngayon, hindi ka nakakagalaw ayon sa lugar na kinalalagyan mo. Napakahalaga kasi ng tinatawag na synchronicity. Katulad namin mga teachers. I've been working from home since lockdown. Totoo yan. Wala ako naging trabaho sa labas. No? Dito talaga ako sa bahay. And ako, psychologist, nahihirapan din ako. Bakit? Kasi wala naman dito ang estudyante ko. Wala naman dito yung mga co-teachers ko. Tapos ako, nagsasalita ako sa harap ng screen, di ba? Ang kausap ko, mga moving, ang tawag dito, parang talking heads lang. Talking heads, like now, we're talking heads, no? I never imagined myself doing this, doing webinar, no, dito sa maliit na screen na to. Hindi ko na-imagine yan. Sumasayaw ako kapag face-to-face. Ang hirap, no? Tapos umaya, maririnig ng pamilya ko, yung dinidiscuss ko, hindi naman sila yung kausap ko. It's really not synchronous. That's why it's difficult. Sa school, kahit sabihin mo na palibat-libat ka ng classroom, makakasalubong ko yung mga co-teachers ko, oy, kamusta ka na? Oy, pwede naman ng brochure ng Avon. Di ba? Yung mga ganyan. O di kaya kayo dyan, chika-chika, di ba? Iba talaga yung nagtatrabaho sa work area. Sabi naman ng iba, bakit yung mga dati nag-work from home na? Sanay naman na sila. Bakit ngayon nagkakaroon pa rin sila ng feeling of sadness, boredom? Because, just the same, dati work from home man sila, pero meron silang option to go out and they can go out anytime. They are not limited. Ngayon, work from home ka na nga, hindi ka pa makalabas basta-basta. Hindi ka basta-basta maka-unwind, hindi ka basta-basta makapuntang coffee shop, diba? Kaya yung limitations na yan, tapos hindi ka makapag-physically interact with others, ay talagang nakakapagpadagdag ng kalungkutan. Automatic yan. Kaya yung sa Italy, nung nagkantahan sila, alam niyo po yun, yung first few weeks of the lockdown. Di ba ang report doon was they felt better when they sang together because they built yung tinatawag na synchronicity. Nagkantahan sila. Kaya yung sinasabi dito, mag-Zumba kayo sa Zoom, magkantahan kayo sa Zoom, pwedeng gawin yon kasi nakakaramdam ka ng synchronicity sa mga nakakausap mo. So pwedeng makatulong yon para mabawasan yung lungkot natin. No? Marami rin sa atin ngayon yung short-tempered. Konting bagay, talaga naman naiirita, na parang hindi mo alam kung saan galing yung irita mo, di ba? Kaya alam niyo nung nag-liquor ban, G ako doon, promise. Bakit? Kasi kapag tayo po umiinom ng alak, tandaan natin, hindi totoo yung sinasabi nilang huwag mong ilalagay sa isip mo or sa utak mo ang alak. Pag uminom ka daw sa tiyan lang, no, psychoactive drug po ang alak. Kahit anong iwas mo, matatamaan ang isip mo. No? At kapag meron kang daladalang problema, nawawala yung regulation mo sa sarili kasi ang alak ay psychoactive drug at ang tawag dyan ay depressant. Ibig sabihin, bumababa yung regulation mo sa katawan mo, sa isip mo. no? Kaya magbibigay magkapuso, red wine,
Hi, Kat. Hi, Kat.
Hello
Mads,
po.
nawala natin si Miss Yen.
Nawala siya. Oo, nawala si
Opo.
Yen.
Opo,
Oh,
let
nag-drop.
me just, opo,
Akala
Ayan,
ko yung akala ko
ayan
yung
na.
akin.
Ayan na. She's back. But next time it goes like that again, we'll call on Lei. Hi, Lei, you're there. Start sharing some techniques
Yes
on
po.
mindfulness. Mama,
All right.
andyan. Okay. Ever ready naman yan si Lei. Okay. Hi, gang. You're muted.
there you go. Okay, pero nag-feedback.
Echo.
Alright, so pasensya na, no? Biglang bumitaw yung connection ko. Okay,
Pagod na
so
rin.
continue. Yeah, so to continue now, so that's alak, okay? And ngayon, meron din tayo mga tinatawag na psychosomatic illnesses. Ano ba yung psychosomatic illnesses? Ito yung nagkakaroon ng sakit yung katawan natin dahil sa stress. Kaya di ba, narinig niyo na ba yung bagong sakit ngayon? Yung Vilmas ba yun? Vilmas? Ayun, yung sakit ng, Vilmas. Yun yung sakit kapag malapit na dumating yung mag-asawang Bill and Judith. Kilala niyo yun? May anak yun sila, si Juna. Yan yung mga utang, kuryente, di ba? Yan. So, napapansin niyo, pag malapit na dumating yung 15 and 30, masaya ka sa sweldo mo. Pero after ng sweldo mo, malungkot ka na ulit. Tapos masakit yung ulo mo, mataas na yung BP niyo. Tandaan niyo yung mga nanay ninyo, nung bata pa tayo, di ba? Pag malapit na ang 15, mainit na yung ulo. Yan ang tawag dyan, psychosomatic illness, tumataas yung mga blood pressure, gano'n. Ang ibig sabihin ng psychosomatic illness, lahat, no? Dahil sa stress. Yun yung dahilan nun. So itong usually may mga chronic illnesses na stress-related talaga. Hindi ito arte eh. Kung mapapansin niyo, di ba, pag may problema ka, ang bigat ng pakiramdam mo, no? Para bang ang hina-hina ng katawan mo. So ang tawag doon, psychosomatic illness. Kung may mga chronic illnesses ka, nagiging mas madalas na umatake, katulad ng hika, sakit sa puso, blood pressure. Kasi yan yung mga maliliit ang daanan ng dugo. Kaya pag nasa-stress tayo, yung blood flow natin naaapektuhan at nahihirapang mag-function yung mga organs natin na may defect, katulad ng puso at lungs for those who have asthma. Diba? So, yan po yung psychosomatic illness. Kaya maraming yung mga report na nagsasabing marami ang nagkakasakit. These are actually common experiences that we have with their stress. No? Yeah. Yes, madam?
Ayan. Ayan, okay na? Okay siya?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Alright. Pati yung volume, okay lang?
Yes, ma'am. Perfect.
Oo, sige. Alright. Nako, ang saya talaga, no? Nasa internet talaga ngayon ang traffic. So these are the usual experiences that we have because of stress. Pero may nakita sa mga pag-aaral na very specific, related kay COVID, yung stress at yung effect sa atin. Eto yon. Dahil daw sa COVID, marami sa atin ngayon yung merong mixed emotions. So ano ba yung mixed emotions? Sinasabi nila ang babae daw, papalit-palit ng ugali o ng mood, di ba? Minsan malambing, tapos mamaya masungit, di ba? Ganun daw tayo mga babae, no? Ang tawag doon, mood change. Iba ang mixed emotions. Ang mixed emotions, sa isang sitwasyon, halo-halo ang emosyon. At hindi ito healthy, hindi ito maganda. Kasi halimbawa, dati excited ka mag-grocery. Hanggang ngayon naman excited ka mag-grocery. Pero bakit habang nag-grocery ka, nakakaramdam ka ng takot? Meron kang parang ingat na ingat ka sa mga galak mo. So imagine, instead na excited ka, meron kang takot na nararamdaman. Mixed emotion. Bukod dyan, marami rin daw sa atin ngayon yung meron mga unwanted fears. No? Pero kasi masasabi nating unwanted kasi parang kahit hindi ka dapat natatakot, parang may takot kang nararamdaman. Katulad ng halimbawa, inubo kayo. Dati, prior to pandemic, pag inuubo tayo, ano iniisip natin? Lagundi. Di ba? Lagundi, solmukes, di ba? Ganyan. Pero ngayon, pag inubo tayo, isang ganyan na, isang ganon, ano nasa isip nyo? Swab. Di ba? Oo, COVID, di ba? Kumbaga parang, bakit iba na yung takbo? Pagkatapos ang nangyayari doon, pag naisip mo, oh my God, baka COVID na to, hindi ka na makakain, hindi ka na makatulog, adi lalo ka talaga magkakasakit. Ang sinasabi dito, yes, valid yung mga fears natin kasi totoo namang may COVID at totoong pwede tayong magkaroon nito. Pero ang dapat nating pang-counter dyan, kung inubo ka and you think it's COVID, anong dapat mong gawin? Uminom ka agad ng gamot para kung COVID man yan, hindi siya magiging symptomatic. Dapat proactive ka. Oops, inuubo ko. O, teka, baka COVID to. Valid yon. Iiyak ka na lang ba? Mag-aalala ka na lang ba? Hindi ganon. Dapat, inom ka agad ng gamot. Para kung positive ka man, may pangontra ka sa symptoms. Di ba? And, ito sa akin, pinaka malungkot na parte na epekto ng COVID. Marami sa atin ngayon, yung minsan nagkakatampuhan, nagigilty, no-offend, no? Bakit? Pag nakita kayo ng kaibigan mo, halimbawa, dinalaw ko sa bahay, lalabasin nyo. Papapasukin nyo sa bahay nyo. Wag. Delikado. Just recently, somebody wanted to came here, bring me some food stuff. And I said, wag na, palala-move mo na lang yan. Kasi hindi rin kita papapasukin sa bahay ko. Sayang lang. Malulungkot lang tayo, hindi tayo makakapag-usap. Kasi kailangan mo natin pag-ingatan ng sarili natin. Ano mga taong mahal natin? Pwedeng magkatampuhan tayo kasi nung nakita tayo sa kalsada, hindi na kita bineso-beso. Pero tandaan mo, iniingatan lang kita. Pero marami pa rin sa atin ngayon ang na-o-offend dahil doon. Bakit? Madumi ba ako? Bakit positive ba ako? Ang lagi natin ilalagay sa isip natin at sa puso, hindi tayo pwedeng maglapit ngayon. So tama na muna ang beso-beso. At kapag hindi ka bineso, hindi ka nilapitan, huwag natin nagdagan yung negativities na nararamdaman natin. No? Natural na minsan mo offend ka, pero kung maiisip natin, ano ba ang dapat? Dapat hindi tayo maghawakan. So okay mo offend. Pag nakita-kita kayo, diba, nasa isang lugar kayo, tapos may mga chichirya kayong kinakain, huwag kayong mag-share. Hindi na ganun ngayon. Dati share tayo ng food. Ngayon, hindi na ganun. No? So we need to be more careful with what we do, especially when it's about, getting together. So yung mga birthdays ngayon, kanya-kanya muna tayong celebrate. No? Huwag na muna tayong magtampo kapag hindi tayo pinuntahan. Kasi ito yung kailangan natin. At itong mga tampo-tampo na ito, guilt na ito yung madalas na nararanasan natin ngayon na nakakapagpadagdag ng ating nararanasan, no? Nakakapagpadagdag ng ating nararamdaman. Yan. Nawala yung video ko, pero sige, okay lang as long as you can hear me. Okay, so ang tanong ngayon, natural ba ito? Normal ba yung nakakaranas tayo ng sinasabing sakit sa katawan? Normal ba na nagtatampo ka? Normal ba na madali kang matakot, no, kapag inuubo ka? Sabi nga, yes, normal yan. Normal kasi hindi normal yung sitwasyon. Kung meron sa inyo na hindi nakakatulog, minsan meron sa inyo mga parang nalulungkot, yung nararanasan ninyo, uulitin ko, ay normal. Usual yan. Kasi lahat tayo, kahit sabihin natin isang taon na si COVID, marami pa rin bago kay COVID. Kaya tayo mismo, marami tayong uncertainties. At yung uncertainties na yun, yung nakakapagbigay sa atin nitong mga hindi makatulog, hindi makakain na epektong ito. Okay? Pero sabi nga, kahit sabihin normal ito, hindi pwedeng matapos ka dito. Kailan mo malalaman ngayon? O sige, normal yan. Okay, so ibig sabihin, okay lang ako na yan. Lagi ako nalulungkot. Kapag lagi at umabot na yan na mahigit 2 linggo, kapag yung kalungkutan na yan, kapag yung hindi ka makatulog, kapag yung napaka-irritable, lagi ka nagtatampo, ay nakaka-apekto na sa iyong daily life, sa iyong daily functioning. Kumbaga, marami ka na susunog na sinaing, hindi ka na makapag-concentrate, lagi na kayo nag-aaway ng mga kasama mo sa bahay o ng iyong partner. At ang masakit dito, kapag nagsisimula ka na mag-isip ng mga, naku, wala ng pag-asa, sana mamatay na lang ako, yung may mga ganun ng thoughts, ay, hindi na po dapat yan, patagalin, no? Hanap na ng counselor, no? Bakit? Hindi ko sinasabing psychological disorder na yan. Pero kailangan na nating maalalayan para ma-manage na natin. Hindi biro yung hindi kayo nakakatulog. Hindi biro yung hindi ka nakakakain. So pag tumagal na siya, ulitin ko ha, pag nagtagal na yan, kasama yung mga sinabi ko, ay kailangan na nating magpakonsulta para maalalayan tayo kung paano natin mamamanage yung mga difficulties na nararanasan natin. Kasi kapag hindi ho natin ito naalalayan, ay mayroong mga tinatawag na chronic illness, no? Or chronic stress. Ano-ano to? Kung mapapansin ninyo, at hindi ko na ito iisa-isahin, pero tignan ninyo ang listahan. Ito ang mga signs na ikaw ay nakakaranas na ng chronic stress. And you will see, disorder na siya o sakit na siya. Nagkakaroon na ng anxiety or depression, nagkakaroon na ng insomnia. So yung hindi ka makatulog, hindi pa insomnia yan. Pero kung napapadalas na yan, malamang insomnia na yan. Naiinis ka, pero hindi naman madalas tumaas ang dugo. Pero kapag naging chronic na yan, laging mataas ang dugo. Thus, nagiging prone tayo sa totoong sakit. Hindi lang psychosomatic illness, kundi alam niyo, parang lagi ka talagang nagkakasakit. Ang dami na, parang suki ka na talaga ng telemed, yung mga ganon. At tignan niyo, obesity. Bakit obesity? Kasi di ba sinabi ko kanina, kapag tayo ay nasa stress, ang tendency kumain ng kumain. Ang masakit doon, hindi laging tamang pagkain. Kaya nga nagiging milk tea is life. Puro tayo hanap ng mga matatamis. So yung pumapasok sa katawan mo, lumulobo ka, pero hindi tama yung laman ng katawan. No? And that can even weaken your other organs, no? And heart disease. Ito po yung epekto ng chronic stress. Kaya yung sinasabi ko kanina, kapag nararanasan nyo na yon at nakaka-apekto na sa daily life nyo, nagtatagal na, kailangan na ho nating magpakonsulta. Kasi mababurnout ka na talaga. So yung burnout, hindi lang siya stress, hindi lang siya pagod, kundi parang napakabigat na ng mundo. Para kang itong bahay na ito, at lalo na ho sa nature ng inyong trabaho, you provide help. So may mga pagkakataon na kailangan hindi makita ng tao na nahihirapan ako. Kami mga psychologists, merong ganun tendency na kailangan makita niya matibay kami. Di ba? Pero matibay ba talaga tayo? Okay lang ba talaga tayo? Eto ba kayo? Itong bahay na to, napakaganda. Kislap. Madalas yan ang gusto natin ipakita sa tao, di ba? Pero sa totoo, ito yung loob natin eh. Marami sa atin ang gustong ipakitang maganda tayo, pero sa loob, ang dami ng sira, ang dami ng bigat, hirap na. Kaya kapag tinatanong tayo, kumusta ka na? Ang sinasabi mo, okay lang ako. Pero yung totoo, gusto mong yakapin ka. At sabihin sa'yo, alam ko hindi ka okay. I know you're not. Kayo mga nakikinig sa akin, kamusta na kayo? Are you okay? We cannot always say we are. We need to acknowledge that we're not. If we are okay, then good. Di ba? Pero hindi yan lagi, hindi yan araw-araw. At yan ang tinatawag na mental health. Ang mental health ay hindi yan yung kailangan lagi akong okay. Pag sinabing mental health, psychological well-being, nandyan yung capacity mo to understand, to know what you're going through, understand it, recognize it, and manage it. That's mental health. Hindi sinasabing, ay, baka sabihin kasi nila, poor ang mental health ko kapag hindi ako okay. Ay, hindi. Kung nalulungkot ka, kung may mga kinatatakutan ka, normal yan. Kasama yan, parte yan ng mental health. Pero hindi mo yan dapat sakyan. I-recognize mo siya. Ano ba ito nararamdaman ko ngayon? Nalulungkot ako eh. Saan ba galing yung lungkot ko? Sige, ano ba dapat kong gawin ngayong nalulungkot ako? Yan ang mental health. No? Hindi yan yung, ay, okay lang ako. Hindi ganon. So mental health is yung kalusugan ng ating kaisipan. At kapag sinabing kalusugan, kasama dyan ang management. Awareness, recognition, and management. And when you say management, that's self-care. So ano ba talaga yung self-care? Ito ba? Ito ba yung self-care? Kasi ito yung alam ng marami, ito naman self-care. Hindi po, no? Self-care naman ng Lazada at Shopee. Bakit hindi, di ba? Bakit? Kasi hindi ka nalalabas. Hindi ka na na-expose at nakakabawas ka doon sa mga nasa labas. Self-care yan. Pero kapag lagi po kayo nagpapabudol, hindi po self-care yan. So, kumusta kayo ng August 8? Ang dami ba ninyong nabudol? Nabudol ba kayo? Ako nagpigil. So, dito daw sa mga Lazada, Shopee, nakakatulong yan. Pero uulitin ko, kapag naaapektuhan na yung pangkuryente nyo, hindi na po yan self-care. Netflix, self-care? Ay nako, Vincenzo is life? Oo naman. Kasi naman, Diyos ko, di ba, ang dami na nga natin pinagdadaanan, hindi ka na nga makapanood ng sine, hindi ka pa naman mag-Netflix. Okay lang mag-Netflix. Pero kapag kayo po ay nakakaisang buong season sa isang upuan, eh hindi na ho tama yun. Ang tawag doon, procrastination. And procrastination is never good. Kasi hindi na manage yung time nyo. At kapag nasa harap ka lang ng TV, bumabagsak yung motivation mo. Pag bumagsak yung motivation mo, nagiging inactive ka, nagiging cycle yon. So kung meron kang dala-dala, lalong bumibigat yon. Kaya ang Netflix nyo, pang isang movie lang, okay na yon, di ba? Eto, health nyo. So yung mga binanggit ko, self-care ba yun? Sabi ko nga, oo. Pero napansin nyo, may pero ako. Kapag sobra ka ng gamit, hindi na self-care yun. Because when we talk about self-care is not just about pampering, relaxation. Hindi lang yun ang self-care. Self-care means balance. No? Balance. Learn to balance your life. Learn to balance yourself. Learn to balance your everyday thing. No? At kapag sinabing balance, tandaan natin yung tatlong circles ng balance. Pleasure, achievement, and connection. So, gusto ninyong mag-Netflix? O di sige, pleasure yon. Pero kailangan, tandaan nyo, baka may trabaho ka pa. So, dapat alam mo kung hanggang kailan lang si pleasure para magawa mo yung dapat mong gawin. Diba? At kung halimbawa naman, para sa'yo, ang achievement, ang self-care mo, kailangan matapos ko yung trabaho ko, ang tanong, paano kung pagod na pagod ka na? Dapat kilala mo yung katawan mo. Sige, meron kang deadline. Pero pinipilit mong tapusin yung deadline mo, ang dami mo ng typo error. Hindi mo ba nare-realize na mas nakakain ng typo error yung oras mo? Baka kailangang itigil mo na muna. Pahinga ka na muna, recharge. Kasi yung stopping naman doesn't mean letting go. Stopping means resting para you will be charged. Diba? Para mas meron kang energy kapag ginawa mo ulit yung trabaho mo. And sabi nga, pag masyado ka maraming trabaho, subukan natin humingi ng allowance na time kay boss, baka pagbigyan tayong another hour, connection. Diba? So ang tatandaan natin when we talk of self-care, it's not just pampering, it's balancing things that we enjoy, things that we need to do, and our connections, our relationships. Yun ang self-care. Hindi rin sinasabing pag nagsa-self-care ka, nagbabalance ka, perfect na. You'll never go wrong. You'll never feel bad. No, no, no. Part of balancing is sasablay ka pa rin, pero alam mo na kung sumasablay ka na. Halimbawa, natatakot ka na, hindi ka na magpapadala sa takot mo. Kasama sa balance na yun, yung, ano bang gagawin sa takot ko? No? That is part of balancing. Okay? And that is self-care. So, sige, tignan natin, no? Ano ba talaga itong self-care na to? Pag sinasabi nating self-care, ang lagi nating tatandaan, pag-aalaga sa sarili. Diba? Balancing. Ang isang isi-share ko sa inyo, nakikita niyo yung salitang care dito. Pag-uusapan natin kung paano natin mapapangalagaan ang sarili natin, ginamit ko po yung acronym na CARE. Para mas madaling maalala natin, no? Mas madali nating masusundan. Pero ito pong ipipresent ko sa inyo ay galing sa mga research. Scientific to. Hindi ko po ito gawa-gawa. Pero yung aking mga halimbawang ibibigay ay halimbawa na pwede mong sundin, pwede mong i-modify, pwede mong baguhin, palitan, depende sa kaya mo. Okay? Depende sa kakayanan mo. Alright? Ayun. So, yan po yung tinatawag na self-care. Okay? So, simulan natin yung acronym. Letter C. C is for create. Ayan. So, pag nagsi-self-care tayo, kailangan daw natin mag-create. Ano yung create? Pag sinabing create, ang ibig sabihin nun, yung isa doon ay create routine. Ngayong panahon ng pandemic, napakahalaga na tayo ay nag-create ng mga routines natin. Yung routine kasi, gumagawa tayo ng habit, no? Yung tinatawag na resilient habit. Ito kasi yung mga panahon na, uulitin ko, naninibago tayo. So, sa paninibagong yun, kailangan natin gumawa ng bagong habits. Bakit kailangan natin gumawa ng routine? Para meron tayong nilulook forward. That's number one. Pangalawa, para makasanayan yung connection ng body and brain natin. Our body and brain are directly connected. Kung anong ginagawa ng katawan mo, yun ang nasasagap ng isip mo o ng utak mo at nagtatranscend yun, nagiging isip. Kaya di ba, pag humingiti ka, body yun. Nadidetect ng brain, tapos nagkakaroon ka ng psychological good feeling, di ba? So, yun yung routine na sinasabi natin. Create a routine to smile. And for those who work from home, create a routine. Bakit kayo nahihirapan sa working from home? Baka nagtatrabaho kayo sa kama. Baka wala tayong routine na ginagawa. Halimbawa, when you wake up in the morning, you have an 8 o'clock work. What do? You switch on your laptop or whatever gadget you use, and then you go get your coffee and then sit in front of your monitor, and that's it. You need to have a routine before that. Pwedeng halimbawa, yung iba ang ginagawa nila, eto tawag namin dito, change your pajama. Di ba? Ang sinasuggest, pwede rin napalitan mo yung damit na ginamit mo nung natulog ka. Kasi that gives signal to your brain na may gagawin ka ng iba. Yung damit na yan, ginamit mo for relaxation. Kapag ginamit mo siya sa work, nahihirapan si brain makadetect, so magtatrabaho ka na ba? O magpapahinga ka pa. So pag lagi ka nagpapalit ng damit prior to your work, masasanay si brain doon. Nagpapalit ka pa lang ng damit, may gana ka na. Kasi alam ni brain, magtatrabaho ka na. Parang sinasabi mo sa katawan mo na, tapos na yung tulog ko. Ready na ako for work. So mag-aayuda si brain sa atin ng mga tinatawag na excitatory hormones. No? So kanya-kanyang routine yan. Like for example, ako what I do, nag-lipstick ako, nag-face powder ako. Bago ang virtual task ko, o kahit nga encoding lang, nagpapabango ako. Sabi ng mga anak ko, ba't ka nagpapabango? Ma, hindi ka naman naaamoy ng mga kausap mo. Ang sabi ko, kasi ako, love ko yung pabango. So pag nagpapabango ako, kahit sa sarili ko, nasasarapan ako, nagkakagana ako. So parang yun yung signal ko kay brain na, magtatrabaho na ako, nagpabango na ako. So parang ganyan, routine. Routine ko siya para siya yung nagbibigay sa akin ng go, ready for work. No? Kaya yung mga nag-go-online task, gumawa tayo ng routine na magbibigay ng transition from relaxation to working. Yung isang kasama namin ni Miss Made, taga Cultural Center, ang ginagawa naman niya, nagbabalat siya ng sapatos kapag may virtual task siya. Hindi nakikita yung paa niya, pero nagsasapatos siya. Kasi yun daw yung pang-go niya, alam niya magtatrabaho siya. Pag tapos na siyang magtrabaho, ready na siya to relax, ang ginagawa naman niya, nagpapatugtog siya ng music. Nagpapatugtog siya ng music kasi yun daw yung nagpe-prepare sa katawan niya na, magre-relax na ako. Bukod dito sa mga routines na to, kailangan din natin yung tinatawag na switch off. Ano yung switch off? Gumawa kayo ng mga bagay na hindi work-related. Yung mga tinatawag na quiet time, plantita time, music time, no? Para meron kang area to recharge. Napakahalaga nun. Kaya, halimbawa, you had a full day and then you do Netflix at night. Pwedeng sabihin kumain yun ng work mo, ng work time mo. Pero, kailangan mong mag-relax Kailangan mong mag-pause. Diba? Kasi kapag tuloy-tuloy siya, sakit sa ulo. So, we need to find at least an hour a day for that switching off. No? Switch off. Okay, 1 hour, huwag kayong sumagot ng mga text muna. Diba? O messages muna. Yan. At create and maintain healthy lifestyle. Exercise. Yung exercise po, hindi yan ipinipilit sa katawan ninyo kung hindi ninyo kaya. Gumawa ka ng exercise na mag-enjoy ka. Kasi nakaka-boost yan ng mga hormones natin, yung tinatawag na excitatory. Yung pagkain naman natin, tandaan natin to, kapag meron tayong dala-dala, nalulungkot ka ngayon, no, huwag kayong kumain ng marami sa gabi. Kasi pag kumain kayo ng marami sa gabi, lalong bumibigat yung pakiramdam mo. Di ba, busog na busog tayo, inaantok tayo, tinatamad tayo. So kapag kumain ka na marami sa gabi at hindi mo naman yan nababurn, lalong bumibigat yung katawan mo, bumibigat yung pakiramdam mo, bumibigat yung isip mo. at lalong nare-reinforce yung bigat na nadadala, na nararamdaman mo, yung problema mo, kung ano man yun. Kaya iwasan niyo po yung mabigat na pagkain sa gabi, lalo na yung kanin. I suggest, kung meron kayong dala-dala problema, nalulungkot kayo, prutas muna sa gabi. Eto pa, tulog. Napakalaking issue ng tulog. Tandaan ho natin ito. Kami mga psychologists, bakit importante sa amin ang tulog? Kasi dito tayo nagre-recharge ng malakas. Kailangan magpahinga ng mga organs natin. No? Tandaan mo natin, pag tayo ay gising, taranta ang puso mo, taranta ang lungs mo, no? Natataranta sila according to your function, lalo na kung stress ka. Pag natutulog ka, nakapahinga rin sila. Nagfa-function pa rin sila, pero according to their way. Walang boss na nagsasabing, stress ako, tulog ka kasi. Kaya nakakapahinga yung buong organs natin. Paano ba tayo makakatulog ng maayos? Paano? Yung iba ho, I would suggest, no, huwag kayong mag-sleeping pills, hindi siya nakakatulong. Uminom na lang kayo ng gatas. Kung hindi ka lactose intolerant, yes, tulog is life. Di ba? No? Pag hindi kayo lactose intolerant, uminom po kayo ng warm milk at night. Kasi ang milk ay may tryptophan. At itong tryptophan na to, hindi ito nakakapagpaantok, pero nakakapagpa-relax. Hindi sapat yung mabibigay niyang melatonin. Pero kahit paano, pag natulog ka, relax ka. Warm milk po yan. Warm. Kasi nakakapagpa-relax din ang system. Huwag kayong mag-gadget, no? At huwag kayong magdadala ng trabaho sa kama. Ang kama ay pang-relax. Tandaan natin yung connection ng body and brain. Kapag nasa kama ka, dapat yung katawan mo nasi-sense siya at pahinga para yun ang message na nadadala kay brain, pahinga. Kaya mag-aayuda si brain ng pampahinga. Pero kapag ikaw ay nagtatrabaho sa kama, hindi alam ng brain mo kung anong gagawin mo. Ano ba to? Matutulog na ba to? O magtatrabaho pa? Hindi niya alam. Kaya pag time to relax na, hindi ka nakaka-relax agad. Kailangan mo pang isanay yung katawan mo mag-relax. Kaya huwag ho kayo magtatrabaho sa kama. Psychiatrist, neurologist, yan din po yung mga sinasabi nila. Bed is for relaxation. Alright? Okay. So, yan yung mga iiwasan natin para tayo ay makatulog ng mas maayos. Ang gadget ay nakakapatay ng melatonin. Kaya huwag tayo nag-gadget sa gabi. Next letter is aware. Ano yung aware? We need to be aware of our body. Know your body. Dapat alam mo kung pagod ka na, naiinis ka, nagagalit ka. Hindi masama ang emosyon. Ang kailangan lang, alam natin kung paano natin i-manage ito. Kung nagagalit ka, natatakot ka, i-manage mo siya para hindi maging hindi maganda. You are entitled to what you feel. Just learn how to come up with an appropriate behavior with it. Hindi ibig sabihin galit ka, okay lang na galit ako, sisigaw ako, magmumura ako. Hindi. Pag galit ka, alam ko, galit ako, dapat isipin ko saan galing ang galit ko na ito. Okay, so kakalma muna ako. Diba? Yan yung mga tinutulong ni Miss Madet, yung mindfulness, diba? Kasi kahit galit ka, pag nakalma ka, nakakapag-isip ka ng tama at nalalaman mo kung saan nanggagaling yung nararamdaman mong hindi maganda. At kapag nangyari yun, nagiging mas appropriate yung behavior natin. Kaya pag kayo may nararamdaman kayong intense, galit ka, huwag mo munang patulan yung nararamdaman mo yan. Pahinga ka na muna. Kasi ang tawag doon, reaction. You act without thinking. Dapat we respond to our emotions. It means thinking before acting. Response. No? So first, you need to be aware of your body. And syempre, kailangan aware din tayo sa paligid. No? Marami nagsasabi, positive ako ayoko makinig ng news. Kasi nakaka-negative ang news. Hindi po. Kailangan nyo makinig ng news. Pero okay magbabad sa news. We need to be aware. Toxic positivity po ang tawag doon sa ayaw makinig sa totoo. You need to know the reality. Kahit sa relasyon natin, di ba sa mga jowa-jowa. Di ba? 2 months ka nang hindi mini-message. Sasabihin mo, mahal ka pa, hello? Yung totoo, 2 buwan na, sim ka lang, ghosting talaga, di ba? Sabi mo, hindi, ayoko mag-isip na hindi maganda, negative yan. Hindi. Tanggapin mo na yung totoo, mas positive ang mangyayari. Kasi pag tinanggap mo yung totoo, alam mo yung totoo, alam mo yung tamang mong gagawin. Di ba? Kasi nagpapakabulag ka, wag po tayong magpaka-Sharon Cuneta. Ano yung kanta niya? Tatawirin ang lahat ng, ano yun, dagat. Ikaw hindi ka marunong lumangoy. Kailangan alam mo, di ba? So yun, no? Be aware and be informed. Huwag tayong papatol sa mga fake news, yan. So manood ng news, alamin na totoo para alam natin kung paano natin mamamanage ito. Okay? At ito pa, recognize. Ano naman yung recognize? Recognize we need to control what we can control. It's not always good days. The reason why we are always stressed is because we tend to control what we cannot. Naiinis ka sa kasama mo sa trabaho, hindi mo naman siya makontrol. So ano yung dapat mong kontrolin? Yung sayo. Huwag mo kausapin. Deadmayin mo kung yun ang mag-work. O kausapin mo kung sa tingin mo mag-work yun. Ex mo, nakikita mo sa Facebook, naiinis ka, hindi mo naman makokontrol yung mga pinopost niya. Naiinis ka, i-block mo na, o ang friend mo na, di ba? Yun yung kaya mong kontrolin, yung sayo. Okay? So you need to recognize your stressors. You need to recognize that it's not always good day. And recognize your faith, please. Studies showed that our spirituality has a very strong effect and influence on our growth. Isa ito sa sinasabing napakalakas na paraan para malagpasan natin yung adversities natin. Regardless of our religion, it's not about religion. It's practicing our faith, our spirituality. Whatever we call our divine, no, our highest divine, wala sa tawag yan, Allah, Yahweh, Jehovah, Jesus, Lord. Wala sa tawag yan. Ang importante, kapitan natin yung magandang paniniwala natin. Practice natin yung faith natin. Maniwala kayo, ang lakas ng epekto nito. No? Nakita yan, scientist, no? Scientific. And express. Letter E, express. Express gratitude. Gratitude is the highest form of virtue. Kapag marunong tayo magpasalamat, nagiging appreciative tayo, nagiging mas maliwanag ang mundo natin. Mahirap sigurong humanap ng pwedeng pagpasalamatan sa panahon ng COVID, pero marami ho yan. Pag dumating ang sweldo mo, kahit maliit lang ang sweldo mo, pasalamatan mo, may pambayad ka. Yung iba sasabihin nila, ano ba naman yan? Dumaan lang yung sweldo ko? Para nga yun, napunta lang sa Meralco. Mabuti nga may pambayad ka sa Meralco, diba? That's the point. Let's be appreciative. Because, when we have gratitude in our hearts, sabi nga, you breathe in gratitude, you breathe out compassion. You're also able to give love to others. And wag niyong sarilinin kung ano yung nararamdaman niyo. Express. Studies showed na kapag tinatago natin yan, lalo hong bumibigat yan. Nag-accumulate at nakakulong ka sa sarili mong perspective. Find help. Simulan natin sa mga mapapagkatiwalaang kaibigan o kaanak. Kapag hindi kinaya, sabi nga ng mental health law, andito naman ang mga psychologists at ang mga counselors. Meron na pong mga pwede ninyong malapitan. Ilabas nyo, huwag nyong sarilinin kasi lalo huyang nakakabigat. So always remember the word care. Normal ang nararanasan natin, kailangan lang natin gawa ng paraan para maging mas maayos yung pang-araw-araw natin. It's okay to say that you are not okay because self-care is not selfishness. Kayo sa trabaho nyo, tumutulong kayo sa iba, simulan nyo sa sarili nyo. Para po tayong mga upuan, inuupuan tayo. Kapag yung mga tornilyo, yung mga pako natin nakauslina, pwedeng matumba, mahulog yung uupo sa atin. Kaya kailangan from time to time, i-check natin. Kapag nakita nyo medyo gumigewang ka na, yung mga tornilyo, sabi ni Miss Madel. Pag nakita mong gumigewang ka na, pukpuk agad, ayusin agad, para yung uupo sa atin safe. Self-care is not just for us. It's for the people we love and we serve. So always remember, smile, breathe, and go slowly. That's from my favorite Vian Zen master, Thich Nhat Hanh. So maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Sana ay sa maliit na panahon ay nakatulong po tayo para mas maalaman natin kung paano mag-alaga ng sarili natin. Thank you!
Thank you, Ma'am Yeng.
Thank you.
We enjoyed your presentation very much. It's very enlightening and informative po. No? It's also like doing a self-check. And helpful din po yung concrete tips or steps that we can do that is most accessible to us to improve the state of our mental health. Yung all throughout your presentation po, no, parang may one-on-one discussion tayo. Oh, milk tea's life, Kat, kausap ka. talagang, wow, para sa akin to. Yung yung Lazada, yung 8-8, talaga natamaan po ako. But beyond that po, it's also a very good reminder na there are also other healthy Most importantly, may mga healthy steps on kung malungkot ka, may anxiety ka. Important po that you also mentioned yung recognize your face. Kasi sometimes, for me po, or perhaps for some of us, faith is all we have to keep us going. So, maraming salamat po for a very, very delightful presentation, Ma'am Yen. We will be having, next po, we will be having mindfulness and breathing activity. I would like to call on Miss Lei Santa Maria to lead a 15-minute mindfulness and breathing activity. Hello, Miss Lei.
Good morning, everyone. Ayan. Can everybody hear me? Okay naman?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, great. Sige. Thank you so much. So, yan. Thank you so much. Doc Yang, I love everything that you said and sobrang aligned with what we're going to do this morning, no? Practice na natin. Let's try doing what Doc Yang has already told us, no? Let's start with what she ended with. Smile, breathe, and go slowly. That's why we'll go into our breath, no? So she mentioned so many things about mental health. And for me, that's where disease and diseases come from. Most of the time, if not all, no? So what can we do? Yung sabi niya na i-catch na every time we feel fear or anger and worry, because all these things lead to lower immunity, diba? So let's strengthen ourselves. It's one thing to keep ourselves healthy physically, but how can we take care of our mental health? And this is one way to do it. We go back to our breath. Doc Yang said, start with a smile. Let's couple it up with becoming mindful and becoming aware of our breath. What do we notice whenever we feel scared or sad? Kapag natataranta tayo, napapansin niyo pa ba paano huminga? Or paano kayo humihinga? When we breathe, parang sobrang natural na siya, di ba? We don't pay too much attention to it. So, what can we do? Every time we feel natataranta na, natatakot, nag-worry, or anxious na tayo, we feel that our bodies are like contracting. And that's what we want to avoid. We want the feeling of expansion. And how do we do that? By consciously and mindfully, babagalan natin yung paghinga natin. Tama yung sinasabi ng iba, di ba? Hinga muna. Dagdagan natin, sabi ni Doc Yang, smile muna. All right? So, again, there are so many studies about going back to your breath, about mindfulness, about meditation. But let's do this quickly. Something that we can do any time of the day, whatever it is that we are doing. Let's take a short pause. You'll hear me say later, heart space. So whenever you hear me say heart space or heart center, just focus on your heart, just focus on your chest area. Okay? So right now, I would like to invite everyone to be gentle with themselves first. Let's be gentle to ourselves. Whatever it is that we're feeling, whatever it is that's going on around us, okay lang muna lahat for now. So everyone, take a deep breath through your nose. And one deep breath out through our mouth. And I hope you feel that expansion that I'm talking about. So now, let's try to settle down first. And if you're comfortable with this, you may close your eyes. And just sit tall. Make sure hindi tayo nakahukot or slouch. Sit tall, that helps with our posture, that helps with the circulation of the energy and blood in our bodies, no? It's okay if your feet are flat on the floor. Okay lang din kung crossed legs. But what's important is, go find that level of comfort. Saan kayo komportable? And now, just try to breathe normally. Inhale and exhale. Whatever it is that you're hearing around you, whatever it is that you are feeling physically, the sensations, allow them. They're just here right now. Don't judge them. Don't label them. Just allow them to be. And then after a couple of deep breaths, so inhale and exhale. One more time, inhale and exhale. Continue that breath, continue that cycle of breath, and then imagine lahat ng naririnig ninyo nag-fade away muna. Imagine lahat nung nafe-feel ninyo sa skin, whether it's the air, it's the wind, it's the chair you're sitting on. Parang nagme-melt away muna. And then put your attention on your breath. You can put a smile on your face. And then try to listen to your breath. Does it make a sound? May naririnig ba sa bawat inhale and exhale? And then, while you are breathing, habang humihinga tayo, focus on what you are feeling while you are doing that. It's not every day that we get to focus on our breath, but this is a good start. The day is a good start. And as you breathe, now I want you to focus on your heart space, that area of your heart. Imagine na yung inhaled air dumidiretso sa heart. And then imagine kapag nag-exhale tayo, dun din galing yung air na in-exhale natin. So again, focus on your heart space, on your heart center. Focus on the expansion of your chest. Every time you inhale and every time you exhale. If you'll notice, this automatically slows our breath down. Bumabagal, lumalalim. And the good news is that gives so many benefits for us. So when we breathe in deeper and when we breathe out deeper, that breath nourishes our bodies, our minds, and our spirits, thus creating that balance that we talked about earlier. And then try to come to a rhythm that suits you, no? It doesn't matter kung ilang counts yung inhales ninyo that you can. Basta same counts yung pag-exhale. So equal breaths. Again, that will bring balance to your body, to your mind, and spirit. And it's totally okay if you need to count on your head. That's part of being mindful. That's part of this breath work. Do what is most comfortable for you. So just keep on breathing. So deeper inhales and deeper exhales. So this is the first step. Some of you may have closed your eyes. This is something that you can do any time of the day, most especially when you catch yourself feeling something that we usually don't want, or if you feel the need na, kailangan ko nang mag-isip clearly, or kailangan ko mag-rest, then go to this one. But what's good about this kind of breathing is, we can even practice this while we keep our eyes open. So everyone, especially for those who close their eyes, open your eyes. And then continue that kind of breath. So inhale deeply and exhale. And then focus it on your heart space again. So why are we practicing this? Because we want to train our brains, that's one. We want to train ourselves how to respond, just like what Doc Yang said. So in the middle of something, so for example, if you're in a car, nasa loob ka ng sasakyan, tas sobrang traffic, especially kung ikaw yung driver, you cannot naman close your eyes, diba? So what can we do? Practice this with our eyes open. If you're in the middle of an argument, medyo nagkakainitan na, cannot naman close your eyes. So take a while to really consciously take a deep breath. And exhale. Next inhale, send it to your heart. And then exhale, coming from your heart again. And then, inubor, nagkasakit, or may iba kayong kausap that you still need to practice self-care, pwede right then and there, right at that moment, you can practice this kind of breath. And that is the beauty of this breath work. when we focus on our heart, when we focus on our heart space. So again, it automatically slows down our breath, which is very beneficial for us. So that's our heart space breath. That is one thing we can do in the middle of the day, in the middle of anything. But let's talk about the other breath work that I'm going to share with you, because Doc Yang also talked about the importance of sleep. No? So what can we do? Kung hindi makatulog, there's this breath work that I usually practice. It's called the 4-7-8 breath. So how do we do that? We can practice it now. So 4, that's for the inhale. So inhale through your nose for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath for 7 counts with the tongue on the roof of your mouth, sa taas, touching and mouth closed. All right? That's for the 7 counts of holding our breath. So di tayo hinga, 7 counts, tongue at the roof of the mouth. And then yung 8, it's for our exhale. Open your mouth, exhale for 8 counts. So let's try that, no? This is what I do when I cannot sleep. All right? So inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale through your mouth. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale through your nose. 3, 4. Hold your breath. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale through your mouth. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now breathe normally. So just inhale and exhale, and just try to evaluate how your body feels right now. So these breath works are really designed to calm us down. So choose whatever works for you. Yung first kind of breathing, that might also work if you need to sleep, if you need to calm down. And again, choose which one will work for you. All right. And then the last one that I would like to share with you, and Doc Yang also talked about this, the attitude of gratitude. So for me, that's a very important part of mindfulness. You know why? Because of the law of attraction. What we feel, that's what we invite in also. And we don't want to invite feelings, emotions, situations that we do not want in our lives. So how can we do that? Let's focus on, what am I grateful for today? What am I grateful for this moment? What do I appreciate? So maybe before you sleep, try to think of at least one. If you want, you can start a journal. You can start typing that on your phone. So at least one per day. Kasi nga, sabi ni Doc Yang, ayaw natin ng negatron. And if we don't want negatrons around us, we have to start with ourselves. No? So, ano yung gusto natin na maramdaman natin? That's what we do, and that's what we work on. That's our power. And that's how powerful we are. We can choose, we can train ourselves, and more than that, pwede natin mahawahan yung ibang tao. And what a beautiful way na makahawa, di ba? So, ang bilis na nga makahawa ng COVID, sasali po ba tayo doon? Sasali po ba tayo doon sa pagpapababa ng immune system ng mga tao? We don't want that, di ba? So let's work on our immune system, starting with our mental health, starting with our breath, starting with smiling, starting with gratitude, and then imagine what kind of energy we are putting out there. So there. So again, smile, breathe well and mindfully, and always be grateful. And there you go. So I hope those things help. And thank you for allowing me to share all these things with you.
Thank you, Miss Lei, for a very relaxing, refreshing experience. Parang nagkaroon ng reboot for our senses. Just to share with everyone, Miss Lei is a teacher of design thinking for kids, yoga and mindfulness for kids and families. She's also a Reiki master and a certified raising frequencies and self-love solution teacher. She works with two organizations. One is Atma Prema Wellbeing Group, which is a global provider of corporate well-being and personal development programs based on psychoneurology and integrative health. And the other is One Healing Community, which is a school for personal growth and healing. Its mission is to help Filipinos stay calm and spread calmness this pandemic. Again, thank you so much, Ms. Lei. We are now opening our Q&A. If you have questions for Professor Gatchalian and for Ms. Lei, please feel free to raise your hand. Our chat box is also open, or maaari po kayong magsalita na lamang. Paki-unmute lang po ang ating mic. May questions po ba tayo sa ating mga participants?
Kat?
Yes.
Hi, yeah, I'll start not actually habang yung iba nag-iisip pa siguro ng question. This for Prof. Yeng.
Attorney Alan, hello po. I was identifying kung sino nagsasalita. Hello, sir. Good morning
Sorry,
po.
Years old, medyo erratic yung aking signal today. Yeah, but this for Prof. Yeng. I noticed in the profile it says University of Perpetual Health, Delta. I would like to ask if this is the Delta variant. No, that's not, I'm just kidding, man. Just
I love that.
But my it's not a question, but it's actually parang additional comment on the ritual, on the routine, I agree with that, since routine is actually a good way to create a foundational parang habit or practice, and sabi nila, if the routine done consistently and long enough, it becomes actually a ritual, and then that ritual becomes sacred and sanctified in a sense, because it becomes part of your daily living. So it's a good insight because especially during the pandemic, there's a lot of distractions, may Zoom fatigue, dami nating Zoom meetings. But if you create a routine and ritual, that becomes first, and the rest will follow. So it becomes a good parang cycle. So thank you for the insight, Prof. Yeng, about creating or building a routine.
I'm sorry kasi may part na parang tumigil. So hindi ko masyadong nakuha. But attorney, from what I get, yes, routine talaga is very important, no? Kasi it develops what we call resilient habit. Kasi ngayon, since we are all, parang we're still trying to get ourselves into the new situation that we are in. I still don't want to call it new normal, no? But the new situation that we are in right now, marami sa atin yung naninibago. Tapos yung paninibagong yun, laging may bago. Kasi di ba they're saying, like for example, children, kapag merong typhoon, disasters, in 2 months, kailangan balik mo na sila sa school para they will feel that the situation is getting back to normalcy. Pero ngayon kasi it's been like 1 year and 3 months, no? Sabi nga ni Ms. Madet, ang tagal na. And yet, kahit na...
1 year and 8 months.
8 months, yeah. O nga pala, 8 months na. No?
1 year and 3 months na nagsimula kami.
Now, oh yeah. So with this, kahit sabihin mong ang tagal na natin sa sitwasyon, ang daming bago kay COVID. Kaya yung practice of creating routine, malaking tulong siya sa atin kasi nakakasanayan natin yung sitwasyong kinalalagyan natin. So thank you for affirming that, attorney, kasi talaga napakahalaga na mag-routine tayo. Yung mga simple, katulad kanina when I shared yung pabango, siguro yung iba would say, parang ang simple nun. Yes, pero it gives you that the smell, parang it puts you to a work area, your work area. So hindi ito yung amoy ko sa bahay. Kasi amoy ko sa bahay ay amoy ng bawang. Pag nagpabango ako, amoy ng trabaho. Di ba? So parang ganun siya. So it makes you synchronized with your workplace. Parang ganun. So thank you, attorney.
We have a question here for Miss Lei. Miss Lei, paano po ma-help ang mga bata like 6 years old na hindi ma-stress, magalit during this pandemic dahil hindi sila makalabas, hindi makabili ng toys?
Thank you so much for that question. It's very important, no, especially for the moms. And you know what? It's never too late, or it's never too early, rather, for kids to start breathing consciously and practicing mindfulness. The things that I shared with you today, you can share with the kids. Tell them it's okay, whatever it is that they are feeling, but we can start with children as young as 6 or even younger to learn that they can take control of what they want to happen and how they can deal with all these things. And it starts also with breath work. Let's teach them. Children breathe, do abdominal breathing naturally. So yung pag-inhale, abdomen, yung nag-expand. And when they exhale, they do that. But again, when we experience sadness or fear, anger, nawawala siya. We start having shallow breaths and then we start to feel constricted. So for kids, comfort comes first. Let them breathe well first, because when they are feeling all these big emotions, no, kahit anong sabihin natin sa kanila, hindi nila yan mapaprocess agad. And di ba sa adults din naman ganon? So let's go back first to offering comfort and safety for these kids whenever they are feeling that way. Let's go back to our breath and then allow them to experience that conscious breathing. After that, when the child is calm, and then pati yung adult calm na, then that's when you can process things. Bakit hindi pwede makabili ng toys? And then allow creativity to happen. How? Ask them, wala tayong toys ngayon. Hindi tayo pwede makalabas. What else can we do today? And that's where routine can also come in, just like what Dongya mentioned, di ba? If routine is going to be very helpful for us adults, all the more that it's going to be helpful with the kids. Now is the time for them to, and you know what? Involve them. Ask them, what do you think should we do? Anong pwede natin gawin pagising mo? Ganyan, and then so on, until pagtulog. Anong gusto nyong routine pag matutulog? Doc Yang talked about faith and spirituality. You can practice that with your kids as well. So again, how we are treating ourselves, again, we're going back to being gentle with ourselves, all the more with the kids. And we can bring all of these down to their levels. How? Try to make it more fun. Breath work, patagalan kayo ng breath, but be conscious about it, right? And then, we cannot go buy toys, but what else do we have in our home? Ano yung meron tayo ngayon na grateful tayo? Buti na lang may ganito tayo, di ba? Kesa wala. And then, create that routine. Paggising, anong pwede natin gawin? Afternoon, ano na? And then you can involve them with your routines at home. Now is the time you can give them age-appropriate tasks. Ano ba yung mga pwedeng gawin ng isang 6-year-old? Pwede na siya magtiklop ng kumot, di ba? Sa kama. Pwede na niya i-fluff yung pillows para ayusin niya. Pwede na siya mag-prepare ng mga kailangan niya. For example, kung nag-start na yung kanyang school, pwede siya magligpit ng gamit niya, di ba? Involve them. That's what they need. Connection. Diba? And that's what I think the best thing that we can do with the children right now. Tayo lang magkakasama with the children at our homes. So make the most out of it to create connections by being involved together and by being gentle with each other and by practicing mindfulness together. So there.
Thank you for the helpful tips, Miss Lei.
Thank
We
you.
have time for a couple of questions pa po. Here. Um, ano ang dapat approach ng government for hard-headedness of people in following health protocols, social distancing, using face mask properly, and not going out during quarantine? I think this question is for Professor Gatchalian.
Alright. Gusto ko sabihin, ang hirap, no? Kasi parang, number one, I'm not in the government. But siguro I strongly suggest that each government unit should have a mental health program. No? A mental health program not only for the people who work with them, but also for the beneficiaries, people, the society as a whole. Kasi ang lagi ko sinasabi is that ang vaccine, matibay yan. Matibay talaga yan. No? Extension of life natin. Yes, pero mas matinding vaccine ang isip natin. Now, if you know how to protect yourself, if you know how to use yung proper use of face mask, yung hindi nilalagay sa baba, diba? Kasi hindi naman siya chin mask, face mask siya, no? If we know that that face shields are for the face, not for the head, otherwise we call that helmet. Diba? Kasi ilalagay mo sa ulo mo yung face shield, madumi yung ulo natin, madaling lapitan, madaling dikitan ng dumi yan. And we know the virus can, get attached to our body anywhere. Hindi naman yan tumatalon, dinidikitan mo yan. So kung yung buhok mo, nalagyan niyo ng alikabok na may kasamang virus dahil sa hangin, ilalagay mo yung face shield sa ulo mo, tapos ibabalik mo sa mukha mo, lalong in-expose ng tao yung mukha niya sa face shield. Diba? So parang ang point ko dito is that it really saddens me to see, even pag nanonood ako ng TV, na kahit pa nga taong gobyerno o opisyal, makikita mo na hindi tama yung pagsusuot ng face mask. Ini-interview nandito sa Chin, so nakikita ng lahat. Sinusundan kasi yan ng marami. Siguro for those people who really understand, of course, we will not follow that. But what about those who live in, sa ibang sulok ng Pilipinas? At ang nakikita ko ang aking modelo, kita mo siya nga, ganyan siya mag-face mask, di okay lang yan. Kasi, I've talked to many people who live in the outskirts of Metro Manila, etc. Nasasad ako na ibang tingin nila kay COVID, joke lang daw yan, hindi daw totoo yan. So, napakahalaga ng tamang paraan ng pagkampanya sa awareness. Nag-i-implement tayo kagad, may mga nayantok tayo kagad. Sige, importante yon. Pero kasi, di ba, mas magandang makita nila, masundan nila, at ma-aware sila yung tamang paraan ng pakikipag-usap sa kanila sa paraan na naiintindihan nila. So yun, so hindi ako makaisip ng konkretong paraan, pero siguro kung susundan natin yung tamang paraan ng language na ibabato natin sa kanila, baka kahit paano kumonte yung risk ng spread ng COVID. Yun. Yeah, Miss Madette, yes.
Yeah. Ako, nararanasan ko yan pag sumasakay ako ng tricycle. Dito kasi sa Alfonso, safe naman ang tricycle, no? Pero, na-alarm din ako minsan. Tinatanong ko yung driver, Manong, bakit ba't yung mask mo nasa baba? Sasabi. Ang sa Mednet kasi, ang hinahanap namin sa paghahanap ng solusyon sa mga issue at conflict, what is the need? Ang sagot sa akin ng mga tricycle drivers, Ma'am, hindi kami makahinga. Pag nagmamask kami, nahihilo na kami, nagdadrive kami. Paano yan? So ang need ay yung makahinga ng maayos na hindi maipo-provide pag nakamask ka. So I don't know kung ano yung pwedeng gawin doon. Hindi naman ako din humanitarian worker, pero yun yung need Hindi kami makahinga, kaya binababa namin. Hindi dahil matigas lang ang ulo namin, pero talagang nahihirapan kami. Biruin mo, nagdadrive ka, tapos may pasahero ka, kung mahilo ka dyan, di ba? So ako, sa Mednet, yan yung hinahanap namin. Bakit ginagawa ng isang tao itong isang posisyon na ito, itong ginagawa na to? Ano ang need? So ang need nila, makahinga.
constraint, nakakapigil ng ating paghinga. So siguro yung breathing exercise nila, ituro natin sa mga tricycle drivers. Di ba? Baka maturuan sila ng ganong options na paano yung pag hindi ka nagda-drive, maghinga ka ng maayos. Kasi nakaka-apekto rin sa health nila yun eh. Yun lang aking naisip ngayon ba. Salamat. Ang ganda na sharing natin.
Oo, pero alam mo, totoo yun kasi hindi talaga. Pero ang isa kasing dapat din nilang maintindihan, pag nagmamaneho sila, umaandar yung tricycle, hindi sila delikado. Kasi open, tapos may hangin. Kasi di ba yung suggestion sa atin? Pag nakasakit ka sa kotse mo, mas maganda buksan mo na lang kapag umaandar para nagpapalit yung ventilation. Kasi yung kotse natin, isa yan sa mga favorite breeding space nila eh. Hibernation place ng mga virus, no? Not just COVID. Kaya magandang bukas. So yung mga tricycle drivers actually, pag nagmamaneho sila, it's safe. So yun yung sinasabi natin na magandang ma-aware sila kailan ito dapat gawin at kailan ito hindi dapat gawin. Hindi yung puro, yun kasi sa gobyerno, di ba, parang madalas penalty agad. Walang ganito, pag hindi ganito, gagawin sa inyo. Lalong hindi na iintindihan, lalong nagkakaroon minsan ng resistance. Kaya tama yung sinabi ni Madeto, hindi makahinga eh. Turuan natin kung paano nila ito gagamitin ng tama na hindi makakasagabal sa trabaho nila. Yun. So, good point yun. Ganda nun.
If I may add po, no? So, parang combining what Ms. Madet and Doc Yang mentioned, we can approach these concerns with empathy. Remember how we talked about anger and fear and worry and anxiety? No matter what kind of explaining we do, if we are at the height of these emotions, hindi natin magagets because our brains are not parang properly, the neurons are not properly connecting with each other and walang communication na nangyayari between the brain and the body and the mind. So, I guess whatever conflicts or concerns there are, we can approach it with empathy and then we back it up with science or data, studies, then maybe everybody will be in that place wherein, sabi nga ni Doc Yang, much better yung learning if we are in that proper space to learn. And when we are coming from this kind of feeling or mental health state, mas madali for us to understand, to be aware, to accept, and then to move forward from it or act. Kasi kung galit ka or takot ka, ayan na yung nanghuhuli. Hindi ka naman makaisip properly, di ba? We get into either defensive mode, fight, flight, or freeze, di ba? Dun lang. Walang proper thinking na nangyayari. So we react. How can we respond? So ako, I feel like we can approach it much better with empathy, especially for those, let's say, tricycle drivers and those who need it the most, right? Like ako, I'm thinking I'm working from the comfort of my home right now. It might be easier for me to respond this way, but what about those who really have to go out there and do their jobs, frontliners, for example? So there. Approach it with empathy, with care, just like what Doc Yang said, and then back it up by science.
Thank you, Ms. Lei. I can see Ma'am Joy's hand is raised. Ma'am Joy?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you very much sa input ni Doc Yang and Ms. Lei. It's very helpful for individuals. I think apart from, learning these rudiments of mental health individually, it's also important that we have a support system within the organization. Kasi kahit na sabihin na we learn something, but for example, within the workplace, it's not being supported. Napakahirap din to practice. So I think it's really, I really encourage since we are part of the organization, to mainstream mental health staff care in the work, in our work. I'd like to share that, for example, as in Balay, talagang, although of course, we are a psychosocial organization and it's part of our yung staff care is part of yung HRMD. Pero kasi talagang naging klaro sa amin that, yun nga, yung yung pagkakaroon ng responsibility rin. Kasi isang napansin namin nitong pandemic, because we are part of the human rights work, masyadong involved, rather than familiar na sa mental health yung mga tao, pero they put more emphasis in working rather than taking care of themselves, kasi nga parang they have to balance din yung nakikita nilang nakakaligtaan nila, no, and this is despite us having this program of support, no, staff care. Parang mas nagtutuon silang how will I care for others, yung ganun. And I think baka yun yung pwedeng bigyan din ng input ni Ma'am Yeng, no? Kasi yun nga, for those who are working in civil society, human rights, and even mental health, taking care of others, mas nabibigyan ng tuon. And then sometimes you forget, no, to take care of yourselves, no? So yun, can you enlighten us on this balancing act? Kasi yun yung nagiging challenge for us in this kind of work. Thank you.
Yeah. Actually, yung mga sinabi ko kanina, laman na ng mga infographics yun eh. Kung tutusin, para bang people know that. Iyan ang isa sa mga sinasabi ko rin kapag halimbawa nagtutalk ako. I would usually tell them, you know this, but sometimes we need to be reminded. Diba? Kumbaga, kahit kami mga psychologists, pinag-aralan ng ilang taon, pero bakit minsan sumasablay pa rin, no? Kasi talagang parang natural na sa atin minsan na mag-counter-react dun sa mga nararanasan natin sa sitwasyon. So it's good that you have that. Wag niyong bibitawan yung laging nagbibigay sa kanila ng paalala. Pero yung ibang ginagawa nila, because I'm also consultant of some private institutions. So ang isa lagi namin ginagawa, meron kaming mga slogan, no, very very simple reminders to take care of themselves. Slogan, tayo mismo sa mga kasama natin, let's stop them. Inom ka na muna ng tubig. Kasi 'di ba, we help other people, so we should also help yung mga tao within. So i-practice natin. Kung hindi masyadong kakayanin ng salita, gawin natin. Halimbawa, nagkasalubong, uminom ka na ba ng tubig? Para ipaalala natin sa kanila yung pagbibigay ng halaga dun sa mga pang-araw-araw na pangangailangan. Kapag nakita natin na meron sa kanila yung tahimik, hindi masyado nagpa-function within the day, lapitan natin, kumusta ka na ba? Para sila mismo nare-remind, teka muna, o nga ba, kumusta na ako, no? Yung ganon. Kasi totoo rin yung sinabi ni Ms. Josephine, talagang parang pag nasa helping profession ka, no? Ang automatic act mo talaga is for others. Other care talaga yan. Kaya lang, lalo silang ma-exhaust, lalong wala kang mabibigay. Yun yung lagi nating dapat natandaan. Paano natin ito maitatanim sa kanila? Huwag nating bitawan yung program ng mental health para lalo silang nare-remind. It's not enough for them to read. It's not enough for them to hear. They need to embed it. So pwede tayong, kahit siguro kailangan pa isa-isa, halimbawa, magkaroon kayo ng mga talks every Friday, get together, di ba? Pagkatapos, kumusta ka na ba ngayon? O ano ba yung ginawa mo ngayong linggong to para makapag-self-care ka? Para alam nila na kailangan nilang balikan yung pinagdaanan at ano ba ang ginawa ko doon. Yung iba yung ginagawa namin, actually therapy to, cognitive behavioral therapy. Hindi naman talaga ito para sa, pwede natin itong gamitin sa mga usual days natin. Halimbawa, nainis ako, nasigawan ko siya. So, nung nag-usap tayo, masamang-masama yung loob ko. Pwede ninyong balikan yun. O sige, ano ba sa tingin mo yung ibang bagay na dapat na nagawa natin nung nainis tayo? Yung napanood ko dun sa webinar natin, huminga muna. Okay, kung huminga ka kaya muna, ano kaya yung mas nangyari? Para ma-connect mo sila doon sa nangyaring yun at magkakaroon ng realization, no, sana hindi ko siya nakaaway, baka mas nagkaintindihan kami. Kasi pag may mga ganong practice, kahit paano, mababalikan natin, mariremind tayo kapag nandun tayo sa sitwasyon na yun ulit. So parang gano'n, yung appreciation sa bahay natin, yung mga may asawa, yung mga lalaki nagreklamo, bakit may asawa ko? Paano naman hindi ako titingin sa iba pag umuwi ako ng bahay? babaw, di ba? May bawang, hindi man lang naligo. So, nandun sila sa complaint side. Pero kung marirealize nila na kaya may bawang yung misis mo, kasi nagluto siya para sa'yo, nagiging appreciation. And that air of appreciation, of gratitude, can make our feeling lighter. So that alone is self-care. Kasi katulad nga sinabi, di ba? You breathe in gratitude, you breathe out compassion. Kasi nagpapasalamat ka eh. So binabalik mo yun. So kung ang tingin mo, yung amoy bawang ay pinagluto ako, mas ma-appreciate mo yun, mas gagaang ang loob natin, mas mababawasan yung daladala natin sa isip natin. So yung mga isang activity sa isang linggo, pwede natin i-practice sa work area natin yun. No, bawa, ngayon, mag-gratitude practice tayo. Next week, ano naman, di ba? Yung parang ganyan. Hanggang sa maging habit, maging resilient habit nila yun. Yun.
Thank you, Prof. Yeng. We have a couple of questions. Okay lang po ba kung mag-extend pa po tayo ng kaunti?
Sure.
Okay lang po ba sa lahat? Okay po. Okay. We have question from Mr. Isagani. Can we flash the question? Here. So his question is, how will promotion of safe spaces for mental health and well-being contribute to an improved management of community quarantine during these times of the pandemic? Ma'am Yeng?
How will promotion of safe spaces for mental health and well-being contribute to improve? Okay, so yung promotion ng safe space, again, it will remind everyone to be more understanding, to be more grounded, di ba? To be able to learn how to understand oneself, for us to be able to learn also how to express what we understand, what we feel, no? Or how we feel. Kasi mapapansin natin, ang dami ngayon yung andaling uminit ng ulo. No, yan. Kaya doon sinabi ni Miss Lei kanina, kasi I don't feel safe eh. So, ang tendency, mag-retract ako. Kasi I don't feel safe. Di ba? Parang ganyan, no? So, kapag naramdaman ng bawat isa na meron namang handang umintindi sa'yo, na hindi ka naman ma-judge, baka maging mas magaan para sa atin yung magtanong kapag meron tayong hindi alam. Kasi yung iba kasi kapag kaya natatakot din magtanong kasi baka kasi mapagalitan ako o baka magbukang sabihin nila, babaw naman ng taong to, di ba? But we need to understand that we have different understanding to different situations and we all have different take on it. So, pwedeng intinding-intindi mo pero sila hindi nila naiintindihan. Kaya ang ganda na sinabi ni Ms. Madet, know the needs. Di ba? Para hindi man natin kaya i-customize sa bawat need ng isa, pero at least mapapalawak natin yung range ng service na naibibigay natin sa kanila. Mas marami yung makikinabang. No? Kaya when we say safe space, yun yung promotion of non-judgment. Kasi when you know that you are judged, when you feel it, it makes more difficult for us to do something and manage whatever we are experiencing. Kasi we feel una palang judged na tayo. Pero kung alam nila na merong handang makinig at tumulong, ay nagiging mas magaang at mas madali para sa ilan na humingi ng tulong. Diba? Kasi hindi naman natin kayang basahin lahat yun. Contribute to an improved management. Yeah. Ang hirap talaga, no? Kaya ang IATF pabago-bago ng desisyon eh. Bukas ganito, bukas pula, susunod blue, di ba? So naguguluhan din yung mga tao. So ako siguro ang masasuggest ko lang, if in any case I have a chance to be, to be heard by the team, IATF, siguro ang gusto ko lang sabihin, hinga mo muna kayo, usap kayo na pakinggan ninyo muna kung ano yung pangangailangan ng tao. Kasi pag mabilis kayong magdesisyon at magsalita, maglalabo-labo, kaya laging trial and error. Diba? Kung sila ay mag-uusap siguro nang hindi kailangang nakatutok sa sarili mo lang posisyon, kundi sa posisyon din ng iba, baka mas magkaintindihan tayo. Kasi in conflict management, napakahalaga nung naiintindihan mo rin yung posisyon ng mga kasama mo at ng mga nasa labas. Kasi kung yung sariling posisyon lang natin, yung titignan natin, hindi talaga tayo magkakaintindihan kasi nagkakaroon ng tinatawag na conflict of interest, di ba? So siguro yung mga tao na nandito sa taas na gumagawa nitong mga quarantine natin, ako, I always believe that they have the best intention. But the question is, sana yung management at implementation of that intention can be well understood and beneficial to most. It cannot be 100%. We cannot have it perfectly. But at least to most, magiging mas beneficial siya. Yun. So sana lang, kalma na muna kayo mga sir. Parang gano'n. Kalma, hinga, usap kayo. Yung nagkakaintindihan, yung nakikita lahat ng aspeto. Para yung science ay maintindihan ng tao. Huwag tayong pakainin ng science sa salita ng science kasi mahihirapan ng tao umunawa na. Yeah. I think that's how I see how we can promote safe space. No? Talk to people with the language that they will understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Yeng. Okay.
May I add that?
Yes, go ahead po.
Thank you. Ayun, just like what Doc Yeng said, no, tayo ba, how do you feel pagka hindi napakinggan? Kapag Doc Yeng talked about this kanina, kapag ka nasa loob lang, pag hindi na-express. Diba? That's when all these big emotions come in. And that's when concerns come up. That's when challenges come up. So these spaces will be the venue for people to accept what's happening, to understand themselves better, to express themselves better. And once we do that, again, earlier kanina, no, while I was talking about children, comfort first, safety first, because after that, that's when we will be able to think clearly and much better. And during a pandemic, I think that's one of the best things that we can do to try to understand what's going on and then try to see what we can do for ourselves first so that we can equip ourselves to help others. And just like what she mentioned about AITF, mga sir, mga ma'am, breathe first. And then, where are you coming from ba? Ano ba ang purpose? Go back to the purpose, and then how will the rules or regulations or whatever it is that they call them, I totally forgot. But when you come up with guidelines, how can these guidelines be beneficial for everyone? Do they know what most people are experiencing in our country? Baka they might have to do that. Just like what Mama Det said, ano ba ang need? So we ask, what is needed here? And then maybe they can come up with better policies that will be more beneficial for the country, if not for all, just like what Ma'am Yang said. But then, how are they practicing nourishment, care for themselves? That's how we want others to practice self-care as well. So where to meet that? Maybe that's what they can also brainstorm about. And not just, parang minsan kasi out of panic, quarantine na daw, anong guidelines natin? Boom, 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 boom. Parang, wait lang, saan to galing? And then, anong gusto nating goal? Bakit natin to ginawa? So I think those have to be really, really clear. And, okay, yes, Ma'am Marisa, I think so too. And when it is, yes, when there's mental stress, pati sila eh. So, again, law of attraction. Saan sila nanggagaling? Yun yung napapasa nila. Doon sa mga tagasunod nila, di ba? So again, let's go back to ourselves. They can go back to themselves and then, try to emit what they want. What kind of environment do we want ba for ourselves? So for me, that's it. And that's where safe space can come in. When these people who are in power to implement stuff, do they also have that kind of space, safe space that we are talking about right now? Because if they do, baka mas okay yung magiging implementation or yung mga magiging plano, yung mga magiging policies. And whatever they have there, ideally, if we have safe spaces within our communities, then imagine how how we can assist each other. At times like this, tayo magtutulungan, right? So creating that safe space makes a lot of difference. When we are heard, when we are seen, when we are felt, at the very least, those big emotions get to be divided. So at least, alam natin, di naman talaga tayo nag-iisa sa battle na ito, sa pandemic na to, di ba? And at the very least, that's what the safe space is for. And when we have that, the community quarantine that's going on, at the very least, we get to understand and it becomes a bit lighter. So there po.
Yeah, if I may also add, thank you for that. No? Talagang kailangan mo muna i-ground yung sarili mo. If I may also add, let's remember that the mental health law of the Philippines, the Mental Health Act of the Philippines actually has a call for all agencies, private and public, to come up with a mental health program. Now, with the mental health program comes the mental health psychosocial support service guideline, as a guideline. So, merong guideline na MHPSS ang tawag sa kanila at merong mga core principles ang MHPSS. So some of this I will share, yung tinatawag na, maybe this can also be a guideline amongst us, no? Yung human rights and equity. We need to ensure that everybody enjoys their right, but also be sensitive to the rights of others, equal opportunity. So dyan pumapasok yung bakit ba nung panahon na nagkakaubusan ng alcohol, dalawa lang ang pwede kong bilhin. Pwede naman akong bumili ng 2 karton, di ba? So pwedeng sabihin na, karapatan kong bumili ng alcohol na marami para mapangalagaan ko ang sarili ko. Pero sabi ng MHPSS, karapatan din ng iba na bumili. So kung yung karapatan mo ay magsusupersede sa karapatan ng iba, hindi na tama yung karapatan na yan. So may limitation din yan. So halimbawa, nakabili ka ng alcohol, wala namang alcohol ang kapitbahay mo. Pag nagkasakit sila, delikado ka rin. So kung yun yung ilalagay natin sa
Ma'am Yang? Check ko lang po, si Ma'am Yang po ba ang nag-freeze?
so, sinasabi nila,
There.
Yaya, hello?
Hello ma'am, sorry, nag-freeze po kayo for a while.
Yeah, but my audio is okay?
Yes ma'am, go ahead
Ayun,
po.
thank you. Yun. See, I'm using a different gadget for my audio para kasi alam ko nag-freeze ako sa laptop. But anyway, thank you for the reminder. So that's human rights and equity. Next is we also should remember that we all have participation on this. A lot of people I've talked to sabi nila, wala pa akong ginawa ng pandemic, nag-stay home lang ako. Hindi naman ako barangay official, so hindi ako importante dito. No, we have to remember we all have participation. Staying home, we've heard this 1,000 times, no, since nag-lockdown, is a very big way of participating in eradicating at least, no, yung effect ng pandemic. Kasi ibigay na lang natin yung lugar ng labas para sa mga taong dapat lumabas, katulad ng mga economic frontliners, medical frontliners. Let us give them a safer space outside by not going out if it is not important. So that is our participation. No? Kasi usually sinasabi, ay naboboard na ako sa bahay ko. O sige, naboboard ka, di lumabas ka. O sa pag lumabas ka, paano yung mga taong dapat lumabas? Sila ngayon nalalagay sa alanganin. Sila pwede magkasakit. So ibigay natin sa kanila yung luwag ng labas. That will create safe space for them. And we also build on what we have, the resources that we have. So may mga LGU na nakakabigay sila ng manok, no, dressed chicken with bigas pa yan, may pa-hotdog pa minsan yan, di ba? Pero yung iba, ano lang yung nabibigay. So marami nagreklamo, bakit sa amin ganito na, sa kanila ganon? Because we need to build on whatever we have at that moment. Hindi natin pwedeng sagarin yung meron tayo. Kasi pag sinagad natin yon, nababawasan yung safe space ng tao. Kasi paano pag may kailangan, wala nang mahuhugot. So these are some of the ways that we also need to look into. Let us go to the MHPSS guidelines. And whenever we do mental health programs to create safe space, that's what we should follow. The principles of the MHPSS. Yun. Kasi hindi nagiging safe yung paligid ng iba kapag merong nakakalamang. So yung mga mayayaman makakabili ng mas maraming ganito. So pag pinabayaan natin yon, hindi na safe para sa iba yon. Kaya we need to be sensitive to everyone's needs. Yon. So there, I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Yang and Miss Lei, for accommodating all of our questions. Kung okay lang po, we will proceed to our next segment. Again, maraming salamat po sa lahat ng mga nagtanong. May I now call on Mr. John Robert Ko, MedNet Vice President for Luzon Alternate, to give a synthesis of the event. Sir John?
Yes, hello.
Yes,
Hello.
sir. Go ahead.
Okay, sige. So maraming salamat po, no? So for today, for Professor Yang Gatchalian and Miss Lei Santa Maria for giving us their thoughts on mental health and the COVID situation in our country. So sobrang maganda yung naging discussion po natin kanina and even in our Q&A. So hopefully we learn something from this. So first and foremost, siguro bigyan natin ng virtual clap ang ating mga speakers. Yan, so si Professor Yang Gatchalian again and Ms. Lei Santa Maria. So Professor Yang Gatchalian was able to share to us practical issues on mental health and how it relates to our current situation, quarantine measures, COVID-19 variants, etc. So ang dami po nating mga iniisip na mga bagay and it has taken a toll on a lot of people. So along with the discussion came the misconceptions, the challenges, and the coping mechanisms, both in the short term and in the long term. So during the discussions, we were able to take into consideration short-term coping mechanisms, meaning how do we replace certain practices that people have in maintaining their good mental health. So, di ba, yung kanina po dinidiscuss na even people who are working from home before the pandemic, they are able to go out and go to parang cafes, coffee shop, milk tea shops, ganyan, to relax or even travel to different places. But during the rise of the pandemic or the COVID-19 situation, hindi na po natin nagagawa yun. And this has caused a lot of stress to a lot of people. And also, we have to consider the long term because realistically, this situation will not turn around in a couple of months. We might be seeing maybe a minimum of 2 to 5 years just to return things to quote-unquote the normal. So that's why we are also using the term in most cases, the new normal. So yun po yung isang naging reminder po sa ating kanina. In fact, according to the World Health Organization, mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities and can cope with the normal stresses of life. So obviously, we are not in the normal stresses of life. So we are restricted in so many ways that people cannot do their own thing. No? So, or kailangan nilang mag-adapt to another situation. So students, workers alike. So maraming nagbago po. Especially this has affected their productivity or work productivity rather. And kailangan, di ba, even in this situation, iniisip din po natin na kailangan maging productive pa rin po tayo. And yun po yung talagang malaking stress factor for a lot of us, especially during the first wave of the ECQ, no? So during the 2020, yung talagang maximum restriction and lahat talaga po nanibago. So Ms. Lei Santa Maria was able to demonstrate to us different breathing exercises which can help us maintain a positive outlook and good mental health. Accordingly to one study, breathing practice, also known as diaphragmatic breathing or deep breathing, is defined as an efficient integrative body-mind training for dealing with stress and psychosomatic conditions. So these are studies cited from the US National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health. So napakahalaga po niyan, no? So marami din po sa atin before everything happened, hindi tayo masyadong aware, no? Pero when the pandemic hit us and there were a lot of people suffering from anxiety and depression, mas na-highlight po ngayon itong mga practices. And because siyempre itong mga bagay na ito, yung mga itinuro po sa atin ni Ms. Lei, can be adapted easily even from our homes, no? So madali lang po siya mag-set up ganyan. Yeah. So ako din po personally, I also have this experience of breathing exercises, and this actually helps in maintaining your good mental health. No? And also to add to this to the facts, no? So yung bakit nga ba nasa-stress din yung mga tao. So in in some of the prominent psychologists in the early, Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow, they even the state of congruence in the hierarchy of needs, they believe that people were capable and should move towards self-actualization. Pero ngayon po na nasa pandemic tayo, marami pong hindi nakakagawa nun. And that's why there's a lot of incongruence. And this incongruence causes people to fall into anxiety or depression. And marami pong kailangan mag-adjust. Ang maganda lang po dito, there are also medical professionals and psychologists, social workers, and guidance counselors who were able to step up and answer to the call of the situation. So kaya po yung sinasabi po nila Professor Yang kanina na marami din po tayo ngayong mga workers na ready naman po na kahit online, accessible for counseling, for sessions, diba? So yun po. Next thing, there is also a lot of work to do in raising awareness about mental health. So yun nga po, nabanggit natin kanina, may mga misconception, meron pa rin po tayong mga negative stigma, di ba, na kapag porket ba nagkonsulta ka sa isang mental health professional ay ano ba to, masama bang bagay ito, or when is it okay not to be okay? So yun yung mga magandang na-highlight kanina. Then we also need to promote more care for the care providers. So since late 2020, several studies have already been released that health frontliners have been hit hard and are already experiencing mental health issues. So most of these studies cited stress, more health workers resigning from their posts, and anxiety of being infected by the disease. Kasi syempre, araw-araw nila nakakasalamuha yung mga pasyente, and sobrang hirap nun for them, especially if they are also living with their families. Marami din po silang iniisip na baka sila yung maging cause na magkasakit yung kanilang mga pamilya or loved ones. The next point is also, you don't have to do this alone. And so, in-explain naman po sa atin yan ni Professor Yang, we have many gateways to improve our mental health. So, in social work, we also term this as social functioning. We have to maintain what can be optimal for us to still work, to still do what we can in this kind of situation. Then there's also a highlight of teoria at practica. It is always not enough to know, but also we have to promote on ways to improve our mental health within our families and our peers. Empathy combined with science and communication skills, creating or promoting safe spaces are important things to consider for the success of mental health programs. So yun po. And finally, in the context of MedNet, I believe that we cannot be good negotiators or mediators if we don't care of our mental health. So syempre yun kanina yung relasyon ng good decision making, observation, and good analytical skills. You cannot do that if you yourself is suffering from poor mental health. No? So yun po. I guess that's it for the synthesis, and thank you very much po sa ating lahat.
Thank you. Thank you, Sir John. Maraming salamat po. Sa pagkatapos po ng ating event, nais po nating tawagin si Ms. Josephine Lascano, Executive Director of Balay Rehabilitation Center, para magbigay ng kanyang closing remarks. Ma'am Joy.
Thank you, Ms. Kat. Thank you, Ms. Kat. Indeed, yung mental health and psychosocial support is very relevant nowadays, no? Especially in the context of COVID-19 pandemic. And I think us working in the field, no, especially in the conflict-affected areas and in places where there's vulnerability, it's doubly challenging because of, there's a dearth of mental health professionals around the country. And I think in the end, tayo talaga ang magpo-pursue nito dapat, no? Hence, napaka-importante yung natutunan natin, no, ngayong araw na ito, so that we can face this adversity that we have, no? And this is COVID-19, no? And in facing that, napaka-importante itong skill sets, no? Of course, it's not only about skill set, but how to, practice the knowledge and skills that we acquire along the way. So I'm hoping that everyone will start the mental health, practice that our esteemed guests have taught us today, and continue to strive to learn more about mental health and psychosocial support. Kasi yun nga life is a learning and we have to enhance knowledge that we gather right now. Maraming salamat po sa inyong aktibong pakikilahok sa lahat ng ating mga kasama ngayong araw na ito. And we hope that we have a safe days coming ahead of us and we will overcome this COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you very much po.
Thank you, Ma'am Joy. Maraming salamat po. Yan. Para po sa kaalaman ng lahat, ang Balay Rehabilitation Center po ay isa sa mga partners natin sa MedNet. Sila po ay isang human rights NGO that provides psychosocial services and rehabilitation to internally displaced persons and survivors of torture and organized violence. Meron lang din po akong nais i-correct. Nabanggit ko po kasi Miss Lei is part of one online community. Ang tama po dito ay online healing community. So my apologies po for the error. Okay, mag-wrap up na po tayo. Maraming salamat po muli para sa lahat ng mga participants who took their time to be with us today. A big thank you also to Professor Gatchalian for sharing her expertise on mental health awareness. And of course, to Ms. Lei Santa Maria for a wonderful experience kanina. Gusto din po natin magpasalamat sa lahat ng mga dumalo at nag-participate sa ating event. We hope that we will all be able to make something meaningful out of what we learned today. At bago po kami magpaalam, we just like to share some announcements po. Zeto? Ayan. Ang ating next e-learning forum po will be about the West Philippine Sea sa August 24. Same time po, 10 a.m. And coming soon is another e-learning forum on youth elections and public accountability. And for another brand event naman po sa Bridges Cafe, we will talk about active mobility sa August 31. We will be having updates po, abangan nyo lang. Just please check our website. It's www.mediatorsnetwork.com. And if you can follow us on our social media networks na makikita po din niya sa inyong screen. Ayan po. Muli, maraming salamat po sa inyong pagdalo. Mag-iingat po tayo lahat at importante pong mapangalagaan natin ang ating mental health. Lalo na po ngayon na pandemic. Magandang araw po.
Salamat po. Thank you.
Thank you.